In this video, we're going to look at why the ultimate and final Iron Man armor is so expensive, followed by the incredible evolution of the Iron Man suit. Towards the end, we'll also discuss more of Tony Stark's expensive things, including his computer, his house, and his car collection.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, you're not going to want to miss any of this. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's get started. Tony Stark's ultimate and final Iron Man armor is christened the Mark 85, and it's a feature-laden masterpiece. On the top, you're going to get a helmet with projected holographic HUD that reportedly costs about $54 million. On the shoulders, you get two main features: the two shoulder-mounted anti-personnel guns worth about $400 grand each, and back and shoulder-mounted ailerons worth about $2 million. In the chest area, you'll get the arc reactor nuclear power source that's worth a whopping $36 million, at least. The arc reactor uses clean nuclear power to power the Iron Man suit and also, obviously, help protect Tony Stark's heart from the shrapnel in its chest. On the arms, you're going to get two anti-tank missile launchers on the wrists worth a cool $1.5 million each. Here, you'll also find a chip implanted so that Stark can actually summon his armor with just his thoughts. The value of the chip? Completely unknown. Lastly, on the arms are two jets that are hand-mounted for stabilization and maneuvering. These jets can also fire a repulsor ray. Further down, you'll get two batteries mounted on the hips worth about $2,000, as well as flare deployment systems mounted on the thighs worth about $500,000. The suit, whose exoskeleton is made out of gold and titanium, also encompasses two boot-mounted repulsor jetpacks worth about $3.8 million. These boot-mounted repulsor jetpacks provide propulsion for flight, and in total, the jetpacks are valued at about $13.8 million and make it possible for Iron Man to float like a butterfly and sting better than any bee ever could. The combined gold and titanium alloy that makes up Stark's suit helps keep him safe, while protecting him from the G-forces and deleterious effects of gravity and bullets and missiles fired at him. Just this alone, with no sensors or armament attached, has a projected cost of $15 million. The computer system embedded in the suit are controlled by Jarvis, the AI, and Iron Man himself via the HUD. The computer powering all of this is estimated to cost just over $1 million. Surprisingly, this has been something of an inspiration to the U.S. Air Force, which is keen to develop some of the suit's features. The Mark 85 uses nanotechnology, and Tony Stark can assemble it by summoning the different parts of his suit with just his thoughts. The evolution of the Iron Man armor has been incredible. Cast your mind back to the first Iron Man movie, where Mr. Stark's convoy gets ambushed and he's kidnapped by 10 rings and taken to a large cave in the middle of nowhere. Rather than build a missile for his captors like he was supposed to, Tony instead teams up with his fellow prisoner, Ho Yin Sen, Sean Tobe, with the two covertly assembling the first Iron Man suit out of any material that they could salvage for the purpose. This crude but effective suit had a couple flamethrowers underneath each hand, jet boots with limited capabilities, and a rocket launcher that, while crude, was still able to turn an MBT into a pile of kindling. It also cost absolutely nothing to build. Given the manner the first Iron Man suit was put together, it's a wonder that it functioned at all. But while it was bulletproof, it had several weaknesses and weak spots, especially at the eye holes and joints. Still though, it served its purpose, and without it, Tony Stark would never have been able to escape from his crypt and been inspired to go around saving the world. The Mark II Iron Man suit replaced the first and cost an estimated $80 million to make. The Mark II suit was much more advanced, obviously, and polished than the Mark I. Plus, instead of developing it in a cave where he faced frequent threats and beatings, Stark was able to create the suit in relative comfort and safety and possibly went overboard in adding features to it. To make it, Tony invented and utilized advanced repulsor tech and greatly refined the suit's design. It's a rather shiny and streamlined suit, and the first to have Jarvis the AI sitting pretty in it. The Mark II also boasted a greatly enhanced HUD and had varied improvements that made it extremely maneuverable while in the air. But the only thing wrong with it is that it's incapable of going to high altitudes without malfunctioning. Incidentally, this vulnerability was what Tony took advantage of to vanquish Stain. The Mark III armor is a thing of beauty, and it cost Tony an estimated $119 million to put together. It's the first armor with that glorious red and gold scheme that we associate Iron Man with, and essentially marks the emergence of Iron Man into perhaps the most magnificent superhero in the galaxy. This suit, first seen on the original Iron Man, was the first that was designed from the outset to stand up to the most intense battle damage. To that effect, it had multiple anti-tank missiles, miniguns on the shoulders, flares, a more powerful power source, and better repulsors. The Mark III was also made of gold and titanium alloy, and this, apart from making it intensely durable, potent, and effective, meant it could go to any altitude without freezing up. $120 million was the cost of the Mark IV suit, and its design was necessary since the Mark III suffered extensive damage when Tony used it to beat sense into Obadiah Stane in their final fight. You might notice there's not much of a difference in price between the Mark III and its successor. That's because they're essentially the same. The Mark IV boasts a more reddish color than its forebear, plus a greater mobility capacity. About its most startling feature is a waste disposal system that makes it possible for Tony to relieve himself in a suit with no one being the wiser. This waste disposal system makes quite a bit of sense and would enable Iron Man to perform long-range endurance tasks without a trip to the bathroom being necessary. Oh, and the Mark IV was notable in that Tony wore it a lot in Iron Man 2. Not because he needed to, but because he wanted to show it off. Spoiled fella him. The Mark V in Iron Man 2 cost a rather startling $400 million, and Tony Stark, rather than making it more powerful, instead chose to make it more immediately accessible for emergency use. It's often called the suitcase suit because it can be configured to look like a suitcase. The suit uses lightweight plates and enabled speedier suit up and enhanced movement range, with the expensive strength, durability, and endurance. The Mark V was easily damaged, but it did save Tony's life and made it possible for him to live to fight another day. The Mark VI is what Tony wears in Iron Man 2 and the Avengers, and it would set you back $130 million if you could somehow put it together. It uses an enhanced version of the arc reactor, plus more protection and weaponry than its predecessors. The Mark VI comes equipped with a small but powerful missiles that are mounted on the arms, plus a potent laser, and is very resistant to electricity, as witnessed when Thor and Whiplash tried to use that against Tony Stark. The suit is also very usable underwater, which cannot be said of the others, and is overall exceptionally durable. And then we come to the Mark VII, which is incidentally a very lovable suit whose capabilities were put on show when Loki punched and threw Tony off the Stark Tower. The Mark VII first appeared in the Avengers, cost an estimated $500 million. The Mark VII is in the form of a pod that has a strong resemblance to a rocket, and this, when summoned speedily, assembles around Mr. Stark. It has the usual arc reactor, plus an awe-inspiring arsenal of missiles, lasers, and rear thrusters. While extremely potent, the suit cannot go into space without malfunctioning, which is its prime limitation. After the Mark VII comes the Mark 42, that we all saw in Iron Man 3. This suit came about as a result of Tony Stark's experimentation on the Iron Man suits of the Iron Legion. The Mark 42 is special in the case that Tony can remotely control it via chips implanted under his skin. This control means that he can determine how the individual parts of the suits assemble on his body. As well, he can put the suit on another person. The Mark 42 is also known as the Prodigal Son, and can additionally be controlled far away from Tony's HUD. Features of this suit include very powerful repulsors, plus all the miniguns, lasers, and missiles found on its predecessors. It sports a much lighter gold color, and this doesn't detract from its overall effectiveness, though. Next up are the Iron Legion armors, seen in Iron Man 3. The first of these is the Mark 33 Silver Centurion, that apes the look and features of its comic book twin. This suit has a vastly improved energy system, plus blades that are kept out of sight on each arm. The Mark 33 is what Tony Stark put on when he summoned the Iron Legion to fight against Aldrich Killian. It's also the first suit that this particular bad guy smashed to bits. All suits in Iron Man 3 collectively cost Tony Stark about $7 billion, which, nothing to sneeze at. The next suit in the series is the Mark 16. Nightclub, and the second suit Tony wore to battle against Killian. This particular suit has an effective stealth system that relies on color camouflaging and electronic cloaking. The Mark 16 broadly compares to the earlier Mark V armor, and that both focus on superior mobility, with strength, durability, and weaponry carrying coming second. The next in the Legion armor series is the Mark 40. Shotgun. One of its most distinguished features is that it's hypersonic, which means it has a top speed of over Mach 5. This makes it one of the fastest, if not the fastest suits to have the Tony Stark imprimatur. The shotgun comes loaded with a potent thruster at the back that provides excellent mobility and stability when the user's flying or fighting. Tony suits up in it and goes off to show Killian who's boss soon after the apparent death of Pepper Potts. Then comes the Mark 15, Sneaky. This is the first suit that's designed outright to be stealthy, the first in the Iron Legion series to be given a nickname, and the final suit from the Iron Legion series that Tony took into battle for the ultimate clash against his prime enemy. The Mark 15 is notable for its sharp and angular design, plus a helmet that looked capable of surviving a thermonuclear blast. The Mark 43 suit was what we all got impressed with in the Avengers: Age of Ultron. It got built despite the clean slate protocol, which once activated resulted in Jarvis destroying all Iron Man Legion suits in what might as well have been the greatest example of a waste known to mankind. The Mark 43 combines the features of the Mark 7 and the Mark 42 suits, marrying the flexibility and versatility of the first to the exceptional durability of the second. Unlike the previous model, the Mark 43 can resist heavy damage without shattering, and it comes with a sentry mode, plus an infrared scanning system. Next up is the Mark 44 that made Avengers Age of Ultron so entertaining. This suit was massive, very modular, and was jointly developed by Bruce Banner and Tony Stark for emergency use in case Bruce, as the Hulk, went over the edge and lost all control. The Mark 44 had more than one reactor, approximately 11, and could speedily be deployed from a satellite given the improbable name of Veronica. In design, it's based on the Hulkbuster armor detailed in the comic books, and it's the tallest and heaviest suit so far. Essentially, it fits over the Mark 4 43, and its weaponry was tailored for the sole purpose of subduing the Hulk whenever he started running rampant. For that singular purpose, it had jackhammer hands to beat the Hulk into insensibility and sedative gas to make him sleep, plus a quartet of heavy missiles. The Mark 45 was featured in Avengers Age of Ultron. It was basically an improved Mark 43 with the armor taking the form of chromed gold titanium that made it much more damage tolerant as well as shinier. The suit was the first to have a hexagonal design over the arc reactor and is sleeker than most others. It was also the first to have the Friday AI running things rather than Jarvis. The Mark 45 demonstrates exceptional durability. It was able to go toe-to-toe with Ultron and his goons, helped save Sokovia, and was hardy enough to live through the rain of debris that this triggered. The Mark 46 comes next. It showed off its powers and its capabilities in Captain America: Civil War. The bleeding-edge armor detailed in comic books was apparently the inspiration for this suit. Tony Stark used the Mark 46 armor to do battle with a duo of Captain America and Bucky Barnes. With this suit boasting an array of arc reactors that enable enhanced power, and the fact that it's collapsible, improving its overall maneuverability and ease of use, all that Tony has to do to get dressed in the suit, press a button, and the helmet's a retractable affair that's really easy to put on and off. Mark 47 is the suit Tony dressed up in for Spider-Man Homecoming. The middle part of the suit has a silver color, which contrasts really nicely with the red and gold the other parts are painted with. The Mark 47 borrows looks and features from the suits of the Ultimate Marvel comics and is basically an improved Mark 46. The difference is that the Mark 47 can be controlled without a headset, as Tony Stark was all too happy to show us while vacationing in incredible India. Friday runs the suit when Tony's off doing something else. The Mark 50 suit made its debut in Avengers Infinity War, and is the 50th suit that Tony Stark put together. Mr. Stark was by this time getting rather good at this, with the result that the Mark 50 was a veritable work of art and an important step towards the creation of the ultimate Iron Man suit. The Mark 50 utilizes nanotechnology, which means it has a virtually endless list of features and abilities that are basically limited only by Tony's will and intellect. The suit can appear within seconds, reshape in the same time frame, and craft an insane variety of blades, cannons, missiles, thrusters, shields, hammers, freezing spray, wings, and glasses. It's the perfect tool for all purposes, and the sleekest suit of all that perfectly follows the contours of Tony's body. And best of all, the Mark 50 is able to fly in deep space, which is more than could be said for the other suits. Next suit in this lineup is the Mark 85. This is the result of 5 years of refinement, and boy does it look sweet. The Mark 85 could pass for a copy of the one found in the comic books, illustrated by Steve Ditko, and is essentially a beefed up Mark 50 with more bells and whistles to it. The Mark 85 proved to be a good enough match for Thanos and could wield the power of all 6 Infinity Stones with no problem. In this suit, Tony Stark was able to bring light and peace to the world before happily retiring from the MCU. He sure was a high flyer. What's your favorite Iron Man suit? Let us know in the comment section below. Tony Stark additionally owns some pretty sweet expensive stuff, including a computer AI valued at about $10 million, a $25 million house, and an impressive car collection to boot. It's very sophisticated computer AIs like Jarvis and later Friday could never really be put together for pennies, but although both AIs reportedly cost an estimated $10 million apiece, we figure that's probably a very conservative estimate because if that was just $10 million, scores of these sentient things would have long been fielded by military units and other multimillionaires. Tony Stark's pretty expensive tastes also include a car collection collectively worth nearly a couple $1 million that features sweet whips, such as a $250,000 Audi R8 e-tron electric car, a $45,000 1976 Shelby Cobra, a $550,000 Saline S7, and a $388,000 Rolls-Royce Phantom. Stark also resides at a cliffside mansion in Malibu that at a minimum would have cost him $25 million just to build. The house is central to the Iron Man storyline and was actually digitally built in Point Dume National Park, Los Angeles. Click on the playlist to the right to binge watch reasons why more stuff, such as the presidential beast limo, are so expensive.